Hi everyone, it's Heidi from flutterbyheidi.wordpress.com, back again with another fancy fold card, and this time it's a very quick and easy one. It's a little diorama card. As you can see, it uses the Avant Garden Stamp Set, and I thought it was rather nice to have this slightly shorter frontage so that you can see the ribbon on the inside as well. And this one I've done in Peekaboo Peach and Watermelon Wonder with a bit of mint macaron, but the one I'm going to make, I'm going to do with slightly different with the Watermelon Wonder as the base card. So let's see how that looks at the end. So to start off with, then you're going to need your trimmer, and you're going to need a piece of card that is 11 3/8 by 5 3/4 or 28.8 by 14.5 centimetres. And you're going to score just on the in the landscape position at 3.5, at 7 inches, 7.5 and 11 inches, and that's 9, 18, 19 and 28 centimetres, and that's your card base. Then you will need to cut some cardstock for the layers as well, and you'll need, what I've got here is a piece of mint macaron, and that is 3.25 by 5.5 or 8.5 by 14. A layer of, in this instance, Peekaboo Peach, and that is 3 by 5.25, so 8 by 13.5. And then, rather than the plain Whisper White which I used on the first, I'm going to use the shimmery white, which is great for watercolouring, and that's 2 3/4 by 5 inches, so 7.5 by 13 centimetres. And then one more piece of shimmery white for the inside, which is 3 inches by 3 inches or 7.5 by 7.5. So the first thing to do is to make our having scored, we're going to having scored our card base, we then need to just fold and burnish. And we're not going to adhere it yet because we want to do our panel for the inside. But just go through and just reinforce those creases. And that's going to be our card on the front there. Okay. So that's how we will glue it. When we come to it, we're going to put a strip of glue down here and fold it flat. And we can't put it up to the crease because we've made it slightly shorter so that it doesn't interfere with the mechanism. But then when that is stuck, that's what creates our diorama effect. You'll also need 2 punches, and the punches I've used are the 1 3/4 inch punch and the 2 inch punch. If you haven't got the punches, you could use circle dies as well. So it really suits anybody and any equipment that you happen to have. So on your shimmery white cardstock, I'm going to use some black Memento ink, and I'm using the Avant Garden Celebration Stamp Set, which is this one here. Lovely sentiments, lovely flowers, 2 different looks that you can get. So I'm going to come in and ink up my stamp with that Memento, and I'm going to come in so that is just slightly off to the side. I haven't got my Stampin' Pierce mat handy, so I'm just going to use a piece of foam that I happen to have. It's better for photopolymer stamps. Just make sure you've got that mat to hand. I'm going to come in again from the bottom here, and the beauty of the photopolymer is you can really see where to line that up. And then I'm just going to come in with a third one, and this time I'm just going to ink up the top of the flower because I'm just going to come in at the bottom here. So working in 3s, it always gives a good effect, and it really does set the card off really nicely. Now our colouring that we're going to do is we're going to use the Peekaboo Peach this time, because that's what we're going to be using for our surround. But you'll see I'm pointing to the card that you can't see. You'll see here you've got some little leaves here, and those are in the same stamp set. And again, you've got 2 types of leaf. And this one is what I call more of a kind of a rose leaf. And then I'm just going to come in again with the Memento ink and just stamp that in there as well. Now I'm using Memento because Memento, once it is dry, is waterproof. So I'm just coming in with those leaves. And I might even put, no, I was just looking to see whether I could pop an extra one in there, but it's going to interfere with the flowers too much. So I'm just going to leave it now. Less is more sometimes, isn't it? So put our stamps to one side, apart from the sentiment, which we'll do while that's drying. So again, I'm going to, because my surround card is in the Peekaboo Peach, I'm just going to come in and stamp that on the top there as well. Now we're going to do a bit of watercolouring. So again, just squeeze our ink pad to get our pool of colour. Then I'm using an aqua painter. Always make sure you just wipe off, just in case there's any residue left the last time you used it. And then just give it a bit of a squeeze and get your ink in there. And then just come in and just very roughly colour all of those petals. And what I'm going to do is, I'm doing it quite pale on the first pass with this one, and then I'm going to go in where it's still quite dark and just add the highlights afterwards. Now if you want this to dry quickly, which I could have done actually, perhaps it's just a little bit not quite as dry as I'd like, you can just use a heat tool. If in this instance you can use a hairdryer. You can't use a hairdryer for heat embossing, but you could use a hairdryer just to dry off your ink that you're waiting for. So we've come in, that's quite pale, and so we're now going to just come in with that darker colour. It's still a little bit wet. I'm going to leave coming in with the darker colour till after I've done the leaves. So for the leaves, I'm echoing the colours that we've got in there again with some mint macaron. So again, just wipe your brush to one side, pick up the mint macaron and just go over it. A bit more ink there. Again, I wanted to keep the kind of colours, the tones all kind of in together. And because it's quite a detailed stamp, there's not a lot of space first of colouring the leaves or the stems, but you can see it just adds a little bit of interest, and it just picks up, particularly on these kind of little leaves that we've got down the side here and those big ones. So those are our, we've painted our leaves there. Oh, just got another couple here. Just need to paint those. So we also need to stamp on, which I've just remembered, on the inside, for the inside piece as well. So we need our other piece of shimmery white, and we'll be stamping. No, that's not my shimmery white. There's my shimmery white. Shimmery white. Memento. And just pop that directly in the middle, because that's what's going to line up shortly. So put that to one side to dry as well. So if we come back in, and as I said, if we use a literally sort of undiluted, so I'm going to make my brush quite dry. I'm not going to squeeze it at all. And now I'm just going to come in. And what I use when I'm doing these flowers is I go by the shading that's actually in the stamp as well. So, and it's always those dark bits, or you can come in just to one side. It's really anything that kind of gives it that little bit more depth and shading. So the centres, yeah, those areas that wouldn't be quite as bright. So there's our card for the front. What you'll see on here is actually what I've done is I've given it a little bit of shading around it and some dots. So I'm using my mint macaron ink and the list of dots that we've got in the stamp set, but I'm not stamping them direct. Now that is funny. That is what you can do to get an outline. What I was trying to do was stamp off. Okay, so I'm just coming in with a few of these dots around and about. And then rather than, on the other one I used smoky slate for the for going to the background. Actually what I'm going to use is soft sky in this instance, just to give it a little bit of interest. And again I'm wiping my brush off just on the side of my grid paper, and then I'm just going to come in and just give that a background. And that's where the shimmery white is lovely, because it's great for that kind of watercolour effect. And that's a hint of blue sky in the background. Again, you can just come in with a little bit more if you want, a bit paler, as you choose. So now we're going to put that to one side to dry, and we can come in and paint our other one. So while I'm here, I'm going to just give a slight wash of the soft sky. These cards always take longer than others because of the detail. Still not as dry as I might like it. So just come in and paint your flowers very quickly, and then we'll finish with the construction of our card. So pop those to one side to dry. Bring our card back in. If you remember, we said this was going to be our back panel. So what you're going to do is use the 1 3/4 inch punch and just push it in as far as it will go and line it up between the two score lines and punch. Then with a piece of cardstock, you're going to come in and use the 1 3/4 inch in the centre, start off with, and then the 2 inch punch around the outside, and this is what's going to make our frame. Come in with a small amount of glue. I'm just using some Tombow here, just a very fine line all the way around. And then you can line that up on the outside of your frame. Then you're going to come in with the same stamp again, the same Avant Garden flower. Give it a quick clean first to make sure that you haven't got any memento left on there. Use your stamping scrub, or as a temporary one you can use your wet wipes, so I would recommend you using your stamping scrub. And then I'm going to use the Watermelon Wonder ink to do a tone on tone effect. You can use Versamark to get the same effect, but just come in and we're coming in at the edge here, because this is where our ribbon is going to go as well. And you can stamp on this side here, and it doesn't matter if it goes over the crease. So there's our tone on tone effect. We now need to line up our stamp, our piece of shimmery white in the middle here. So if you put it square like so, and then pop a little bit, just gently line it up with the front. You can't see that. What I do is I line it up in the front there, so so it's about central, and then I look at where that is on the card, and that's where I'm going to put it on that back panel. So it is literally just sort of about ½ inch down. That keeps it nice and central. You're going to come in with your fuse down the edge here and just on the inside of the card, and I'm going to use a piece of mint macaron ribbon here, which I'm just going to cut. This is the sheer linen ribbon, and that's going to just go on this edge. I've done it on the wrong edge. Now, obviously, normally you'd be a bit bothered about that because you've now got glue where you don't want it. But Stampin' Up! Have a fabulous eraser that you just literally roll over, just very gently, persistently, and that takes any excess glue off. So if ever you make a mistake with their tape runners, it is fantastic because it sorts it out. Of course, it's not ideal when you're going to try and stick it there. Right, now we just need to finish making the card and the closure. So fold it so you can see the ribbon, like so. So fold it so you've got the ribbon and the space, and then press it to the front and adhere. And that will now create your diorama. So that's all that's left to do, is put our front panels on. So using our snail, I'm getting stuck all over the place today. Line that up in there, and then the same with our Peekaboo Peach. And then you can pop your final piece of shimmery white that's watercoloured on the front there. And there you have a diorama card ready to give away. And these are the two different colourways. So this one uses the ruched ribbon and this one uses some sheer ribbon. I'm not sure about the mint macaron, maybe, maybe not. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed making it. You'll choose your own colours and see how you get on. Have fun and come back soon. Don't forget, if you want any Stampin' Up! Products, just visit my shop and the link is in the description box below the video. Bye then!